going on, everybody? December the 7th. That is crazy. It's December the 7th. Fuck. And that's not just, me being high saying that either. It's really December the 7th. That's crazy. It's nuts. I still remember to this day the day Halloween Kills got delayed in July of 2020. I remember I did a video and then a live stream that day. And it's like a year and a half just gone. I can literally see Johnny fading away. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? We are going to give our updated Halloween movie rankings here in a few minutes. That's how we're going to start the show off. Maybe talk a little bit, too, about how we feel about Halloween Kills now and why it ranks wherever it ranks on all of our lists. So be on the lookout for that. And if you like video games, we're going to be talking some video games tonight and some good old wrestling. What's going on, Mike? Long time no see. It's only been like 48 hours, I think.
I know. And it's been a long work week already. So it's been a long day. So glad to jump on here, give our updated Halloween movie rankings. I'll go into detail when we do that, but I did struggle with a certain part of my list. So, but definitely excited to be here.
Awesome. Good shit. Also joining us is, nope, that's not Kieran. That's Johnny. What's going on, man?
I am
My boy eating a meatball sandwich.
Oh, not quite. Not meatball. It is a nice sandwich, though. Ham, roast beef, turkey.
Turkey over ham all day.
There?
Yeah, bread. There's flour and bread. That counts.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Some dairy.
Wheat is a grain.
Can't slap some fresh lettuce on that shit?
Didn't have any.
Wheat comes out of the ground. That's a vegetable, right?
No.
No, I didn't have any iceberg in the fridge, so I couldn't add lettuce. No, it's great, man. Late dinner. I'm excited. Talk about some good stuff that's near and dear to the cockles of my heart. I'm excited.
We're going down this road again.
Maybe even the subcockles. I don't know.
Nobody's going down that road. Absolutely nobody. Like Kieran didn't even want to show up tonight because of it. So,
hey, if you know what I'm quoting, good.
Excuse me. Also joining us this evening, he's the man with the mean beanie. It's Tommy B. What's going on, man?
What's up?
What's up? That's soon.
Hang in there, buddy. It's been an all right day, hanging out at home, getting some schoolwork done, that sort of thing. We just got done before I came in the studio, just a few minutes before showtime, watching Spider-Man Homecoming. My first go through of the film. I enjoyed it. It's pretty cool. My wife says she thinks it's her favorite MCU film. But recency bias is the thing we always like to say, so we'll give her a little bit of time before I make her decide on that. Plus, she hasn't seen Infinity War or anything.
What was that? Uh-oh. All right. So we're going to call this little mini intro segment that none of these guys know about.
Better not be fucking trivia.
It's not trivia. I got to ask you, Tommy, what's your problem, man? You come up to Canada, and I've basically not fucking seen you since. You don't like me, do you?
That's your fucking problem.
Is it the
That's
socks?
your problem.
It's the socks, isn't it?
The socks?
The socks.
That's fucked up.
Right? I know. You're breaking my heart. As
I don't get it.
Was told.
I don't get it. Socks?
Socks. Stinky socks. Was it my socks?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes, it's your socks.
Yes.
It's your socks.
If you have stinky socks, I've smelled far worse. We'll even say significantly worse. And that's just my family.
Oh, okay.
You make it a habit of just going around and sniffing socks.
Hey,
That's the thing. You don't even need a sniff. You don't even need a sniff.
Come here for a second. I need to sniff your socks. Wow. Your wife gets home from like a long day at work, and the first thing out of your mouth is, "Hey, honey, I need to sniff your socks. Come here."
Because if you smell like ass, you're sleeping on the couch.
Yo, that's pervy.
I was gonna say we're bordering into kink shame territory here, guys.
Oh man, no, I just wanted to have some fun with Tommy B, or at Tommy B's expense. All right,
Called
guys.
Ghostbusters last week.
How was that?
Good. Really enjoyed it. I held off on catching it till this past Friday. Got to see it for free with work. Really
It's
liked
great.
it. Actually, my supervisor, who's a little pretty critical with some films, we talk about the same stuff we talk about on here. He straight up said that he thought it was his favorite film that he's seen in theaters in several years. So, and
During the
I
last
watched
several years. That might not be a high bar depending on the person.
I watched the he watches Star Wars, he watches MCU. He does all that, and we have similar opinions on the Rise of Skywalker. But I actually caught Ghostbusters, what is it? The 1981 original the day prior, and then I went in and I saw that movie on Friday, and fantastic ride, loved it all. If you've been on the fence about trying to go and see it, highly recommend it, and I highly recommend you watch the original Ghostbusters right before.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. It'll probably be on my top 10 list. Maybe not. But it was really good. And I'm not a huge like Ghostbuster fan, so I didn't break it down like these other Ghostbusters fans did. I just went in as just a fan who enjoyed the first film and nothing more than that. And I thought they paid homage in several ways throughout the movie to the first film. And none of those ways were corny or out of line. I thought they hit every one of them perfectly. And just as a new movie and a movie into that franchise, I just thought was amazing.
I'm 27, whatever, few
Old
months
ass?
over that. What?
Fucking old ass.
And I was just gonna say, I feel like Ghostbusters kind of skipped my generation. Like, it wasn't something I was into as a kid. I don't know if anyone around my age shares that opinion, but
I agree with you 100%. I'm 28, so
Is everybody lying about their age on tonight's stream? Is that what we're doing?
Well, if that's the
About
case,
how
I'm
old we are?
29.
1993, baby, 1993.
Yeah, I'm 23, totally.
But no, I
and
agree
also
with you,
full of
Tommy.
shit.
It was never on my watch list or anything that popped up for me. So I definitely concur with that.
Not a big Ghostbusters guy, and even I have been intrigued at a lot of the positive like reviews and talk around the movie, and like this is coming from people that aren't big Ghostbusters people themselves, and they're going on about like how good this movie is and how it's like, if you like movies that are a love letter to the original material, then you got to see this movie. And I honestly kind of can't wait to give it a shot. So I never would have thought I'd be enticed by something like this, but
Me neither.
Johnny's pro Ghostbusters, I think. I could be wrong.
I love the originals. They were some of my favorites growing up.
Shame.
What up, Gene?
Shame. We need to get a shame clip on here. Game of Thrones girl. Anytime someone shows up late, play the shame clip.
Yeah, but how do we know if they show up late? Maybe they're just stalking the chat. They'll just stop telling us when they're late.
Well,
Yes.
if you're like Dean, you'll just straight up say you're late.
Well, that's why I said he'll stop saying he's late if we start shaming people for coming late.
Whatever works. Again, if you're just joining us, if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire, starting in January 31, the Halloween podcast. That guy in the top right-hand corner and myself are going to be providing you a Halloween podcast episode bi-weekly over on Patreon. So head on over there and sign up today if you want to support us on that level. And if not, just click the thumbs up button. It helps a lot too. So we're going to give our Halloween rankings, but a little later on, we're going to be talking video games. We're going to go over some of the older consoles and what games come to mind with them and just sort of dive into that. And we're going to invite Jaron for that, although I know his gaming expertise might not be where some other people's are on this panel, Johnny. But yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're going to finish off with some wrestling talk. So Johnny finally gets to toot his horn. He finally got it right. It's taken a while, but they got there. All that and more later. Anyways, guys, fellas, it's Halloween time.
Actually, it's Christmas
Halloween.
time.
Mike has been all over my balls, figuratively speaking. You
could have picked something else, but
yeah, I probably could have worded that different. He's wanted to redo his Halloween ranking now that Kills has been out, and it's not only been out for like a week. We've sat with it for a couple months now. Mike, maybe give us a little bit of insight on the number one reason you wanted to do this, because you brought this idea to the table a few times now.
For one, so before I came onto the channel or joined the channel, I can't remember if y'all made a video of ranking your favorite Halloween movies or not. I might have watched it, might not have, but one, I was interested to see what everybody's updated list was. I think that's always very interesting. Anytime a new movie joins a new franchise, to see where it lands. Fuck you, Jeremy. So yeah, I mean that was probably the main reason, and I love rankings, and I wanted to see when I actually sat down where I would put what. I had a really good idea of where some would go, and I struggled with a certain portion. I'm a big H2O fan. I was struggling where to put that, but I tried to take my bias out of it and go with what was the better overall movie plus my enjoyment of that movie. So yeah. That's pretty much it.
I want to jump in real quick, and I'm not going to say what it is. Shawn already knows what it is. I don't know if he caught it or not, but my list actually got a big change just after sitting with some things, seeing the film again another time or two. So yeah, I appreciate you spitting this idea out here, Mike.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, and
our lists change over time. Our thoughts, our views. There is no static list. Whatever we say, like the best of all time, it's full of shit. It's just, you're just dressing things up there.
There's one installment on this list that I've really grown to really love, that I didn't like very much first watch. And as the years went by, I've just grown to love it for several reasons. And obviously I'll talk about that when we jump into the list, but so yeah.
Well, I mean, Mike, this was your idea, so I think it makes sense to start with Tommy's list. Alrighty. So Tommy.
Oh, so that's how we're doing. We're just throwing the whole list out there. All right.
What the fuck?
Are
you kidding me?
Oh, boy. He pissed his shit.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay, so before Tommy can even get into his list here, what are you seeing, Mike? What?
Nothing. I'm just fucking with all y'all.
Oh, I was really.
Although there is,
right
I'm kind of disappointed where. Actually, never mind. I'm okay with that. I was gonna say number 8, but
H2O should be higher.
No. I think H2O is fair. I was looking at 8, and then I started looking at the rest of your list, and I was like, 8 is fine, because Halloween 6 is a movie that I've grown to really, really love. That's the one that I was talking about, and it's a little higher. I think it's higher. Honestly, I don't fucking know. And I did this list like 8. I did this list like 8 hours ago, and I still don't remember where the fuck I put it.
So
I just wanted to call the scene.
I actually saved most of my lists. They sit in my my notes, Apple Notes, whatever you want to call them. So I actually dug my old list up and then played around with it a little bit, thought some stuff over. But honestly, number 10 is where I stop liking the movies generally. 5 has its moments.
So are you talking about?
I always say about Rob Zombie 1, it would be a good movie if it used the alternate ending and it wasn't the Halloween universe's characters.
So you
Rob
talking?
Zombie 2, I've never even seen the full freaking movie, but I know the plot. So
You talking about you liked it all the way up till 10, like including 10, or you're the last movie you liked was Resurrection?
I think Halloween 5 is a pretty crappy movie, honestly. I mean, they had such a good lead with 4, which is now my number 1. I gave it some thought. It used to sit at number 4 for me, and then I'm like, you know what? If I had to watch any Halloween movie right now, it would be Halloween 4, because I think Halloween 4 actually works pretty independently of Halloween 1978. I was used to be a pretty, 1978 is always going to be the number 1 film sort of person, but I just don't feel that way anymore. I've seen Halloween 4 maybe half a dozen times within the past couple years, and it's climbed the list for me. And anyway, I'm not going to take this too much further unless we want me to. So, anyone else got anything to say?
Well, let's just really quickly go over your list. 12 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. 11 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. 10 is Halloween 5. 9's Resurrection. 8's The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, just out of curiosity, which one do you like better, the theatrical cut or the producer's cut?
I rank them together just for the list, but it's always going to be the producer's cut.
Agreed. You have H2O at 7, H3 at 6, Halloween 2 at 5, Halloween 2018 at 4, Kills at 3, the original at 2, and you just gave us the reasons behind Halloween 4 being number 1.
It really works like an independent film, right? I mean, you could dive in. There's a few, conversations you might alter a little bit, but when we say, you often say, the best sequel and so on and so forth, but if you had to start someone off at any Halloween film, I feel like they wouldn't be totally lost if you put on Halloween 4.
Yeah,
And, it's not. It's. I'm not making any knocks against Jamie Lee Curtis or anything like that. It's nothing to do with her. It's the film. It's the directing. It's the characters, the plot, story, whatever. It really all works independently. And then they shit the bed with Halloween 5, which is why it's all the way at 10.
Dean Renner, H1, H2, H18, Kills, 4, 6, H2O, H5, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, Resurrection, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and H3. Never watched it. Oh, you're missing out, man. You're missing out, bro.
Love it.
Interesting, Dean. Interesting at your list. Very interesting.
Let's see whose list comes out of the completely random pick next. It is Mike. All right. Time to shine, man. Walk us through your list, dude.
Always going to be 78 for me. It's out. I want to say it's the second horror film I've ever seen or I ever saw. I think the first, or I know the first was the original It with Tim Curry, and then Halloween 78 was the next film, and I absolutely love both films. But obviously, Halloween is my all-time favorite horror movie of all time. All-time favorite franchise of all time, and I can watch 78 any day of the week. I can watch it all the fucking time, honestly. Like I love that movie so much. And then Halloween 2, I like the way how it picks up right after 78, and I think it goes well together. Obviously, it's not Nick Castle, and you can tell the difference throughout the movie. But Halloween 2, I guess you could say there's some nostalgia there for me as well, being in the supposedly in the same night. And Halloween 4 is just that movie when I was a kid that was always on AMC Fear Fest that I would always turn on. I mean, we obviously owned 78, Halloween 2. I don't think we owned 4. So anytime it was on AMC during Fear Fest, which was honestly all the fucking time, I watched it, turned it on. and really enjoyed that. So I'm gonna skip Kills and 18 and come back to those two. And actually, I'm gonna skip H2O and I'm gonna have that conversation next. Coming in at number 7 is Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers. It's or Halloween 6. It's just a movie that I've grown to love over the years. I thought that Michael in that film was brutal. I get some very good fall Halloween vibes in that movie, kind of like I do in 4 and the original. Halloween 3, I've only seen a couple times. It's good. Just not my main cup of tea. It does very well as a standalone film, obviously, in my opinion. And honestly, from 9 down are just movies that I absolutely hate. I probably should put Halloween Resurrection over 5 because I can actually watch that as my guilty pleasure just to laugh if I want to laugh, kind of like Shawn's Rob Zombie's H2. Not a great film, but it's something that I can throw on and get a good laugh out and enjoy in some type of way. So back up to 4, 5, and 6, Halloween Kills, Halloween 18, and Halloween H2O. These are 3 films that I was really struggling with because I have a special place in my heart for Halloween H2O. It's the first film that I saw in theaters. So when that and I like what they did with the film. I like the opening scene. It's one of the best opening scenes of the franchise, in my opinion. You get that fall atmosphere and just the way Michael is in that opening. They did so phenomenal with that, and it's unfortunate that even though I enjoyed the film, that they didn't keep that momentum and atmosphere throughout the entire movie. Obviously, we moved to California, so that kind of kills the fall atmosphere and fall vibes. So I definitely get and understand why people do not enjoy H2O, but the fact that it was my first film that I saw in theaters, I walked out very happy, and it is actually a go-to for me every Halloween season. So and then Halloween Kills and Halloween 18. I remember walking out of 18 just kind of
wait, Mike, can we back up there for a sec?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you just say you saw H2O in theaters?
Yeah.
Dude, you're 28.
What does that mean?
You would have been what, 5? You're shitting me at 28, right?
I'm not.
Right.
That came out. No, I'm not. That came out in 99. So
98.
It came out in 98.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 1,000% positive that I saw. My mom told we had this conversation.
Oh my gosh!
A few weeks ago, and I don't have many I don't remember it too well in the theaters. I always thought that Rob Zombie's Halloween was the first movie that I saw in theater. But my mom, I was talking about it with my mom, and she told me that she took me to see this movie when I was that young. So,
damn, wow, that's damn.
But it never like I don't know if I'm just psychotic or something's wrong with me, but I never walked out scared. I never had nightmares.
H2O is far from a super scary movie, but for a 5-year-old, I would think you would be.
But from my parents, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Maybe I don't know. I was just never really scared of anything. The only horror movie I was ever really terrified of as a kid was It. I was very terrified of that movie.
I feel that.
Sorry to shock you, Tommy, but unless my mom's lying or something's going on in her head, that's what I'm rolling with. What I remember in my mind is Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is a very uncomfortable situation for me to be in because I went with my mom and pretty much my immediate close family, and we all know how Rob Zombie's Halloween is. I was very uncomfortable.
I just look, Mike. I want to apologize on Tommy's behalf for all of us. How dare you call his mom a liar? How could you do that live on it?
I didn't say shit about his mama. Ain't no one talking about.
That's not who he's calling into question.
Honestly, I swear to God, when we get off this, I'm gonna call my mom and say, Tom, I'll be like, Tommy B called you a liar. I hope you know that.
I didn't say shit about no one.
That's just what she
Sean
said,
fucking
man.
always he always does this. Always be trying to say I'm saying shit about people I'm not saying shit about.
I'm completely in awe right now.
You're completely full of shit, is what you are.
So,
Choking there. You all right?
anyways,
I'm good.
I'm gonna wrap up, but I just want to say that long soliloquy that I did for H2O, it just holds a special place in my heart. So I wanted to put this film above 18 and Kills, but I couldn't do it. 18, I walked out kind of disappointed. My expectations were really high with 18, but over the past couple years since it's been out and I've rewatched it, I've really enjoyed it. And it's grown on me a lot. It is a very good, solid film. I think one of the main reasons I was disappointed in that film, although Michael is brutal in that film with his kills, I watch Halloween for Michael Myers. Like, that's probably why Kills is above 18 for me. Like, I know there's a lot of dialogue problems. I don't enjoy the hospital scene. I know why they did it. Like, there's a lot of problems that I can point out with Halloween Kills. But if I want to watch a brutal movie with a lot of kills in it, which, to be honest, was one of the main reasons I watch these movies, I'm gonna throw on Kills. And I walked out of the theater very impressed with Kills. Obviously, there were, like I said, I can nitpick and point out the problems if I want to, but Kills comes in at number 4 for me, I believe. Yeah, I mean, that's my list. I think the top 3 will never change. Just not gonna happen. I don't care how good future films are. I just don't see that happening. Those 3 are going to be hard to top for me. But anything after that, Kills can be replaced. Halloween 18 can be replaced. And I'm going to wrap up by saying, unfortunately, just knowing the stuff that I know, and I hope that I'm wrong, there's a good chance that Ends could be at number 9 for me, but we'll see.
Damn. Nah, I feel that.
I mean, obviously we got to see how it plays out. I mean, it can go either way, but I don't know. Just from what I'm hearing, not panning out to be too good, man.
Johnny, walk us through your list, man.
Oh wow!
Because number 2 is I'm trying really hard here to not
now I'm like, what the fuck? This is legit. Go ahead and talk, Johnny. Floor's yours, man.
This is a mistake, right?
No, it isn't.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Wow. Hang on.
Johnny's gonna shit himself again.
Let's
I'm just enjoying the chaos.
Let's pull up the real list. Let's pull up his real list. Oh, it's the same.
The same list.
I know. Honestly, this is just fucking ridiculous. There's no other way to put around it. Let me guess. I'm not even a big wrestling guy, Johnny, but let me guess. You're enjoying wrestling now over the Attitude Era, right? Like this is where we're at, right?
Well, no, but I'll take the 80s over the Attitude Era.
Son of a fucking bitch.
No, I'll admit there was a mistake in 5 and 4. They are supposed to be flipped. I don't know where my brain was when I wrote the list, but yeah, it should be 4 in second and 5 in fourth.
Thank God, but still, what the fuck? All right, my bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's any better.
I'm gonna mute myself. Go ahead.
It's more just when I saw them for me, like the original. I don't need to espouse, the beauty of the original. It's that good. I hadn't seen 2. I hadn't seen 3 when I saw 4 and 5. So a lot of those, things that came in between, they weren't part of my experience in the Halloween franchise. They kind of just nestled themselves in there on, I don't want to say nostalgia, but I mean, that's probably an accurate terminology, is that they just worked their way into the list there, and they just haven't moved based on my experiences having watched them. Because when I watched them, I don't want to say I was too much younger, but it was at this point probably close to 20 years ago, when I saw them for the first time. And I mean, I'm not going to say I hadn't seen them before. So if Shawn's got some story that we watched them in 1998 in his, in his apartment one night, I'm not going to deny that as factual, because quite frankly, it probably did happen. I just don't remember it. But the first time I really remember watching 4 and 5 is in like 2005, 2006. It was one of the first years I worked Fan Expo. They had a booth that was selling, I can't remember which company had the distribution rights at the time, but they were selling the copies of all the movies. So I bought, the 78, I bought 4, I bought 5. They didn't have 2 for some reason. They didn't have 3. I don't know why, but those are the ones they had. So I bought, through I think through 6, I think that year. And yeah, it was 1, 4, 5, and 6. About 4 of them. And they kind of nestled their way in there on nostalgia, because they were the story that I had seen, and they never, it's not about them being quality films. It's not about them being better than the others. It's just pure personal nostalgia and experience. That's really all it comes down to. And that's why they're so high up. 18 gets up into that 3 spot based purely on the sheer amount of crow I ate watching it. I enjoyed it that much, compared to the experience I expected. Even to the point the first time I watched it with Shawn, I expected that I was going to not like it. I thought I was going to hate it. And I mean, he can attest, I enjoyed the crap out of it. I loved it. So it gets up in there. Kills, I'm still, I think it's dropped back. It might move up again when I rewatch it again once we get the extended cut. And, there's the additional content that's coming with the release.
You mean all 3 minutes?
All 30 seconds?
Yeah, but I mean, we can all attest that sometimes 3 minutes makes a huge difference.
This one won't.
Probably not, but it just, it fits. It's middle of the pack for me. There was just something about it that just, I don't know. I'm still it's too recent for me to move it up. It's too recent for me to move it down. There's too many things that I lampoon in my own mind. Like, Evil Dies Tonight is still, it's a joke. And there's too much of it. There's so many other things. H3 I've only seen a couple times, but it's still a better movie than H2O. H6 at 9, probably because it's the one I've seen the least, I think. So it just doesn't, it hasn't nestled its way in. I'm not too big a fan. In part, the extra cult of thorniness of 6 kind of turns me, plus the whole, Michael baby thing. I don't know. It was a bridge too far for me. And then I don't really, Resurrection is awful, and Rob Zombie and Rob Zombie 2, if they were called anything else, I'd probably enjoy, because I like Rob Zombie as a director. I love House of 1,000 Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I haven't seen the third one, though. But I like his other stuff. I like his style. I like the way he, tells a story. But it just, as Halloween movies, they sucked. They were awful. They were not what I wanted them to be. And that's why they obviously round out, I imagine, pretty much everybody's lists.
I think that's fair. Mine will be quick here, because I want to move on to our video game talk and bring Jerry into the stream. So here you have it. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 at 12. Rob Zombie's Halloween at 11. Halloween Resurrection at 10. Halloween 5 at 9. H2O at 8. 6 at 7. Halloween 3 at 6. 2018 at 5. Kills at 4. 78 at 3. 2 at 2. And Halloween 4. The Return of Michael Myers, number 1. Still for me. So I want to say the only reason for me Kills is as high as it is the soundtrack and score for the movie are just phenomenal. And Michael gets a movie to shine. We really get to see Michael. Take away the fact that you've seen a lot of it in the marketing. when you watch it as a movie, you get to see Michael Myers kick a shit ton of ass. It's absolutely the best part of the movie. So for that reason, Kills gets all the way up to number 4, but I couldn't put it any higher, and I wouldn't be surprised if it slips, to be honest, because like just as a movie, I think 2018 is a better movie. I just enjoy Kills more at the moment because of, the Michael Myers killing spree. Any thoughts, anyone else?
Well, if it slips, it sure as hell is not going to do it for Halloween Ends based on what we know about it.
Oh, I'd like to just forget some of what we know. and
yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, wow. All right, well, that's going to cap out our Halloween rankings list, which is going to move us on to some video game talk. But before we go any further, joining the show from the Inside Handoff Football Podcast, Mr. Jer, what's going on, man?
Can y'all hear me? Did I unmute myself okay? Am I good? Okay, cool. I am doing fantastic tonight, actually. My partner saw that I was in the waiting room on the show, and she was bringing me Dairy Queen, so she saw that it was on and immediately ducked. So that was cute. I have Dairy Queen, and I'm talking with you guys about video games, which I'm kind of on the fence about, but I've played a fair amount.
I have to
Important
ask you
question
real
is, what's
quick,
the Dairy
what
Queen?
do you have from Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I totally got a large Oreo Blizzard because Blizzard's
Classic.
where it's at.
It's classic.
It's not nothing too fancy, but it's pretty good.
It's classic for a reason.
I've had actual food from a Dairy Queen like
have I.
twice. And that
Right?
was
You
2
forget they
times
sell
too
food.
many. That was 2 times too many. Like I would have just been better off taking a fucking ball of salt and shoving it down my fucking throat.
You must have
maybe
some pretty crappy ones, because I don't know if Jared remembers, but there was
Dude,
one Dairy
it was
Queen.
fucking
There was-
ass.
There was one Dairy Queen out by Unit 13 in Hamilton. I know Jared knows what I'm talking about when I say that.
Oh
There's
my
a Dairy
God.
Queen out there by Unit 13 that was actually pretty darn good for food, and was probably the only fast food place in close enough proximity to get food before going
Just
to the
bringing up
building for
all
a
these
show.
memories that I had like forced
Very
down.
rarely, very rarely am I someone who doesn't finish their food, and that food did not get finished.
Hang on, before we go any further. Mike, you look like you're ready to kill someone. What's going on, man? You good?
I'm just.
He secretly owns a Dairy Queen, and now Tommy is insulting his
I
life's work.
think we broke him with your Halloween 5 at number 2.
The Halloween.
I mean,
I'll
Mike,
give
you
Johnny
really,
the
you
benefit.
really
of
like
the,
the
I'll give
chicken
Johnny.
fingers from Dairy Queen that much, man? I mean,
I'll
everyone
give
has
Johnny
their
the
own
benefit of the
favorites.
doubt and say that he got it wrong and made a mistake and put it at 4. But still, holy shit! I love you, man, but all right. Well, let's go. Video. Oh my god, video game.
Also,
Yeah.
Halloween 3 is where it's at. What?
Love Halloween 3. All right, let's start off with this one. Who I know I owned one of these. Probably more like 3 or 4 of them. And I know you did, Johnny. Who else had one of these?
I did.
My parents had one. I remember playing it when I was very, very little. They make you
Man.
feel old. You old, Shawn?
Oh man, yeah, no, I'm fucking going down memory lane here. Imagine trying to use that controller for one of today's games.
You can get one.
I mean, there are some games I play where
fine.
that would actually not be a problem,
Mhm.
but they're few and far between.
So the NES was my first gaming console. What are some games that come to mind when you think of this one that were some of your favorite? Anybody, just chime on in.
Duck Hunt, Super Mario. List goes on.
I mean, I gotta get the Canadian answer out of the way. Blades of Steel.
Yes. You know what I loved about Blades of Steel?
How ridiculous the fighting mechanic was.
you would get into these fights, right? And if you won the fight, you didn't get a penalty. But if you lost the fight, the other team did.
The only game that penalizes you for losing a fight.
Oh man.
I didn't play this much, but the two that come to my mind memory base wise is Super Mario Brothers and a Friday the 13th video game.
I never got to play the Friday the 13th video game for this.
Yeah,
I didn't get to play it until like the ROM era.
Yeah, those
We
are the
don't
two that
talk
come
about
to
those. Those are
two
the,
that-
you
two that
can't
come to
talk
mind
about
for me.
those.
Wow.
It's all good. I have an extensive collection of cartridges, so I'm good.
I wonder if it's on the
No.
Switch on. No, it's not. I
Brad
guess not
says
with the
ice hockey.
franchise
Does
being
anybody
this.
remember that? I do.
That was a fun game.
It was like this hockey player who was
It was the original, like the first era of
Yeah, the
games. They were
5-on-5.
just named after the sport they were. Like you had pro wrestling and ice hockey, baseball, soccer.
oh man. Wow.
Speaking of Tecmo World Wrestling, that game.
Is that the one
Considering-
that you could put people in the torture rack in?
I don't remember the torture rack, but it had the sharpshooter.
Hmm.
Oh, that was the knockoff one where you didn't have real people. Like El Gordo was the Mexican luchador, and Scorpio, and Guid. It had a weird name.
So, Nintendo reminds me of. I had anger issues as a kid. And
No shit.
there's a game.
I appreciate you being honest and vulnerable with everybody.
Okay, for people watching
Oh God!
and for people listening, Super Spike Volleyball for Nintendo. This game was so frustrating. I remember seething with rage and throwing that controller that was just on the screen moments ago many times due to this game. You'd get so far and then it would just be too hard to get any further. And it just, even now, I can't handle the thought of that game. It was fun for up to a point, and then it just stopped being fun.
The third Mario game was probably one of my favorites for
Best
NES.
NES game. Period. In my opinion.
It was great. I remember there was this Flintstones game I could never get out of the first friggin' level in.
There were some ridiculously hard games. And then there were some games that you played that you had no idea what the hell you were doing. Like the American Gladiators game was just awful. I had no idea what I was doing ever at any point playing that game, and never actually won a game.
And
Was anyone any good at Contra?
Once I learned the Contra code.
Well, yeah.
man, blowing on those cartridges just to get the game to work. Oh,
There are so many jokes that you could make about that era of games. It just based on that premise alone.
I mean, I definitely blew on a couple games.
Tommy Jade wants to know, how is the missus liking the Marvin universe?
Was this like a Marvin the Martian thing?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she meant Marvel. And I ended up commenting, yeah, she's digging it. I'm loving the go through again. We're on track with my schedule's changed a bit. Should be able to catch all the way up to Far From Home. And goes right into No Way Home. Right before release day. I might have to skip Black Panther. She might have to watch that on her own. Or we might come back to it. And I said, you know what? If we had to cut one out, that's probably the one to do it. We can come back and watch it later because it's just not going to. I feel like you can go in and watch Infinity War and Endgame without Black Panther, and you would be okay. And you're not going to need it for No Way Home.
Because you had the experience with them in Civil War, and then again in Infinity War, and yeah, I think you're probably right that that's probably the easiest one to skip and then come back to.
Another one we did skip is the one everyone skips is Hulk, just because it streams nowhere, and I didn't want to pay for it.
Don't blame
I
me for
saw
that.
that one a few times as a kid. I guess I liked it then, but I didn't have too much of a critical taste back then. When I was doing my own MCU watch through several months back, that wasn't one that I really felt compelled to go and find. You know what I mean? Big green guy. I feel like he gets introduced well enough in Avengers, right? So,
I mean, I think as a character, the Hulk is one that's so synonymous with the Marvel Universe. You don't need a backstory for him. You just he's Bruce Banner. He gets angry, he turns into the Hulk. That's it.
yeah, and he gets better character development in the Avengers films. And that other film, I'm not going to say it. So yeah.
Good shit. Good shit. All right, let's see what's next. The Sega Genesis.
I'm going to be for real for a second, and I'm going to straight up say I don't. You know what? I don't think I've ever played a Genesis. What was Saturn? Was that a Sega system?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think I've ever played an actual Sega Genesis before.
Way to make us feel old.
I know.
I mean, I never owned one, but I of course got to play one at other places.
Yeah, I never owned one. I played one a couple of times at my friend's house, and the go-to was always Sonic 2 and 3 for me. Those are the two that come to mind. I can't think of any other ones that come strictly to mind. I would have to go through a list and look at the games, but those are the two. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3 come to mind for me, and they were just so simple but so fun to play.
Sonic 2 was probably the big one for me as well, for a lot of people for that matter. Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, I thought they were fantastic. I know they were for the SNES as well. But yeah, no, mainly the Mortal Kombat games and Sonic. There was this one Jurassic Park game. There was a Jurassic Park game and an X-Men game, and I couldn't think of whatever the subtitle is on either of those games. I'd have to really search for them, but I had those two, and they were great for that system as well.
I want to say for the Sega Genesis, they had an NHL game as well.
Oh, they had a lot.
Yeah, they did.
So.
I mean, Genesis for me, the go-to is it's a game that was also released on the SNES, which was my home console. My household was a Nintendo household up through the Sony era, so it was pretty hard for me to get anything that wasn't a Nintendo console until the PlayStation came out, and I kind of had to fight on the grounds of exclusives, and SmackDown 2 helped a lot with that one. But
we're gonna get there.
For me, the game that comes to mind was, again, like I said, it's one that also released on the NES or on the SNES, but the Sega version just played so much better, and that was Monday Night Raw. Because you had people on the roster in the Sega games that weren't in the SNES version. That was for all of the games in that era. I mean, everything from Super WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and then Monday Night Raw to end the era, all had additional roster members that weren't on the SNES because of the fact it was more bits.
Yeah, I forgot all about that game, man. Raw was cool. Raw was good. Anybody else with a Sega game?
I lean towards the hockey games. That was kind of when I was big into my hockey phase, and I believe Sega had the first actual licensed NHL game in '92, which was NHLPA hockey before they started the EA series.
Also on the SNES, but yes.
Yeah. So I remember getting hooked on that, but the first version wasn't licensed, so you'd get like Chicago versus Hartford, and it would have the colors and everything, but it wouldn't have the actual logos or players or whatnot. And then I guess the next year they got the license, and then
93 got the players.
yeah, and that kicked off the NHL series.
And that game is the one that established the alternating nets rule in all homes and households across the world, because you had the one net that if you went around it back and forth 3 times, the goalie would always stick on the post, and you just had a gimme wrap around every single time.
The wraparound glitch that would always work every time. And back then they couldn't update games, so you could get away with it as long as you wanted.
Deal with it till next year.
Johnny cheating at hockey again. What else is new?
You know, it's funny because I think the person that taught me that glitch was you.
I have. All right, let's move on to the next one. The Super Nintendo system, which I have to sadly admit I didn't have until way, way, way after its prime. I basically ended up buying it as like a secondary system. Like, I think PS3s were out at this point. I just always
what's the deal with this system? Like, I feel like everyone had or knows, the original NES far more than the Super Nintendo. Like,
because it was the only one. I mean, that's the difference, right? When you had the NES, that was it for home entertainment. It was after the Atari. It was after, the Master System and anything that had come before it, and it stood alone. It was the only one. And then the SNES hit, and the Genesis, and now suddenly you had 2 choices, and most households you just couldn't afford both. So your parents chose the system, and that was it, and that's how you got brand loyalty.
And we know how that ended.
Super Nintendo. Johnny had this Jurassic Park game back in the day, and it came out at the same time as the Jurassic Park game for the Sega. The only difference is the Sega one was
the difference is everything
was basically a side scroller, and the other one was one of the best.
It was a top down
at that time.
Yeah, it was a top down like a Zelda style game that was just, I don't want to say ahead of its time, because obviously you had Zelda at the same time, but just so much different than the other ones. Like, I think the first time we ever figured that out was you and I were talking about it, and we were describing the games, and it was like, well, that's not, the heck are you talking about? Type conversations where we didn't realize that, yes, they're the same name, but they're completely different games, which was different at the time. Everything that was on the SNES was also on the Genesis. The Aladdin, the Lion King, the platformer games were all the same if they were on both consoles, or at least the same type of game anyway. And this one was just 2 completely different styles.
And then like Super Mario World would be the big one for me, like that, and Mario Kart.
Mario Kart was huge.
Those 2, I mean, I'm set.
For me, I mean, you can't go wrong. You saw the box, and there's 2 games on there that I go to. There's classics. Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country is the other one. But the one that for me doesn't get as much love as it should amongst a lot of players, because it was one of the rare times where Nintendo hit something that worked and has never gone back to it. Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars. That game was Final Fantasy in the Nintendo universe, with Mario and Bowser and Koopa and all of those characters that you're familiar with in a Final Fantasy-esque story and combat, turn-based combat. It just, they never went back to it. They try, Paper Mario kind of took that style back, but there's never been an RPG sequel. And quite frankly, there should be.
You watch a lot of like lists for the Super Nintendo, and that's way up there on a lot of people's lists. So
I got a game that's probably not on very many lists, if any, but it holds a special place in my heart. And it's such a weird game too. I believe it's Mario is missing.
Oh God, no!
That's the one
no,
where Luigi runs
no,
around Rome and asks
no,
people questions. Yes,
no,
that's the game. That's
no.
Is this a thing?
don't-
Yeah.
No, it's a thing, and it is the worst fucking game I've played in my entire existence and my life. It is. Oh my.
Okay,
So you're
so
telling
Mario
us that
gets
you don't
kidnapped.
like it.
No.
And-
There's I don't like games, and then there's I'd like to. The Atari ET is a better game than this.
And that's in a landfill somewhere. So what
Yo,
does that
that's
tell
like
you?
the worst fucking. That's
Exactly.
awful, dude. That dude legit got ran out of the gaming business and became a therapist.
Whoever
Yeah.
said yes to Mario is missing should have got ran out of the gaming business. Oh my god!
He did. The developer of the ET movie got ran out of the gaming
I
business.
know.
and
I'm
became a
saying
therapist.
whoever okayed Mario is missing, and the creation of that game should have been run out of the business too. That game was just, oh my god.
If you're
For me, the
curious,
story is
if anyone's interested in a funny little story, go and look up the Silicon Valley counselor or the Silicon Valley therapist, something like that. They talk about it a little bit on what
for
is
me,
it,
Mario is missing
the
is
News
that
Days,
one.
I think.
So-
Back in the day, we're old. We had Blockbuster. That was the thing. You'd get one game every so often if you're lucky. You could rent a video game, and one time the parents were like, "Oh, this is a Mario game," and we got it, and it's it's a Mario game. It's Mario. That at that point Mario was the staple. If you put Mario on something, it's got to be good, right? No, A, Mario's not even in the fucking game, and B, it's not a Mario game. It is just awful.
So
It's
I
like-
can honestly
It's
say
like Reader Rabbit in Mario skin, and not even as good.
I
It's
can
me,
honestly say
Mario.
I have never seen this in my life. I'm gonna
It's
have to watch
so
Agreed.
good.
Never knew it existed.
Wow, I'm mind blown here, and not just because I'm stoned either.
You'd go to
wow.
information booths and try and answer questions to try and get clues, and
So
you'd have a map you'd have to follow.
I'll
And
point out Discovery Mario Street, and then take a look at that logo in the right, and you can all see it. It's the same company that made the Oregon Trail.
that made what?
That's the Oregon Trail company logo.
That's amazing.
I'm sure that is. I mean, I could be wrong about that because I can't actually read the writing, and I can't remember who made it. But that's Oregon Trail, right there. Like that's what it screams to me. I mean, I could be wrong.
See, Johnny just can't handle a geography learning adventure that's way cool.
Except it wasn't way cool. It was the shits.
let's move on to something that's a little more well known and something I think everybody had.
Yeah, no.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
I thought you were going N64.
I didn't, but my neighbor upstairs did, and I played it all the time. I loved it.
What a fucking ugly controller.
This
It
a
was.
well-known. I mean, it looks like a cool controller, but I played with one of these like once or twice, and it's not an easy controller to use. I mean, like
The
want your
problem with
hands
this
get burnt out.
console is that it was far ahead of its time. We weren't ready for it. If it had come out 10 years later, being almost exactly the same way as it was, Sega would still be in the console generation world. It would still be a 4-horse race at this point. But because it came out, 99, 2000, it was too far ahead of its time. Nobody was ready for online gaming like that outside of the PC generation. And it was too far ahead of its time. Plus, they had one huge game-breaking thing that I don't know how got through. That every other console that to that point had copy protection, and it had fairly good stuff that you could get around if you knew the right people in the right places and the right back alleys. But you didn't need that for a Dreamcast. All you needed was, a CD writer unit in your PC, and you could just make copies of every game you rented and never have to buy a Dreamcast game. And that's why it died. I don't want to say a slow death, but it was.
Only one game comes to mind for me. I didn't own this, but my friend did, and it was NBA 2K2. And the only reason I remember that is because Allen Iverson was on the cover. That's about it.
AI.
But other than that, I don't have any really memorable recollection of this.
I mean, that's that generation kind of introduced me like the Crazy Taxi type of games,
yeah.
which I enjoyed. And for me, there was one that, again, so far ahead of its time. I don't even know if Jared would remember this, but WWF Royal Rumble. It was the first time you actually had a Royal Rumble game that could support. I think you could have like 8 to 10 people in the ring at once.
That's
in a
cool.
console game, and it just, when everybody else is struggling with 4, all of a sudden you've got a game that's putting up arcade style stuff, and it was just it didn't play good, but as far as like content, it was ahead of its time and still not replicated properly.
I don't know if there's any one game that stands out to me. I never owned this console, but I remember playing it for the first time in a Blockbuster, and they had I don't know what the Sonic game was that came out for it, whatever the launch title Sonic was, but I remember just being like, this is way different than any Sonic game I've ever played in my life, and like just completely blown away, and at the same time like, oh, I don't think I could like handle this sort of thing. And then it ended up dying a very quick and painful death, sadly.
I mean, to me, this game, that console generation actually did something really important for me, and that gave me my love of Japanese wrestling. Because it had, because of the fact you didn't have to import games, you could just, download them from certain places on the internet and hope you didn't give your computer AIDS, and burn them and play them at home. But Giant Graham,
Avoid LimeWire, kids.
Giant Graham 2000 and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, I think.
Yeah,
and Fire Pro Wrestling D, I think, was the Dreamcast one. They introduced me to Japanese wrestling and the characters and the people, and obviously here we are, all 20 some years later, and Jared and I can have a conversation about Japanese guys that you'll be scratching our heads thinking we're making stuff up.
All right, final one for the gaming topic, guys, and then we'll outro Mike and Tommy. Can't
we legit only talk about old games?
Yeah, no. New games will be another night. New games will be
misrepresentation.
Yeah.
That right there, like
Overrated game. Just
what?
joking. I don't want everybody to flip.
I don't know
shit.
if I've ever even played it, to be honest.
What?
with you. Like, I had Super Mario 64.
Fuck this.
I had the Mario Kart 64. There were so many great N64 games, but 007 is one of those games that I just really don't even know if I ever fucking played.
So, I mean,
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, that's GoldenEye is on my list for sure. I mean, come on now. And then the ones that really stick out to me is obviously Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda. The name is slipping my mind, but it's the one with the gold cover.
Ocarina of
Gold
Time.
cover was Ocarina, and then the purple was Majora's Mask.
Yeah, the gold cover was the one that I played all the time. And then the
Man,
Pokemon.
you want to hear something funny?
What's up?
Is everybody loved, I think, what one was the gold cover?
Gold cover was Ocarina.
Okay, and the purple one was Majora's Mask. Okay,
Yep.
so I think 90% of people loved Ocarina of Time better.
Absolutely.
I did not. I liked Majora's
man.
Mask better.
I love that game so much. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
It was a completely different experience. Adding that 3-day clock to it was just so. It hardened a generation of gamers. That's what it did.
And then the couple other ones that really stick out to me that I played a lot was Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, and then WrestleMania 2000. And then the number one game for me probably would be WWF No Mercy.
Yes.
I remember when that came out, I would go to Blockbuster every Friday night. Never could get that shit. That shit was always gone, and I was so pissed. My mom finally let me. She bought it for me, and it's honestly just because of that. I would say that's probably my favorite 64 game that comes to mind. It just holds a bunch of nostalgia value for me and to me. So those are the games that I've played that I can remember off the top of my head mostly.
I gotta ask you, Mike, did you play Pokemon Stadium, either one or two, with Game Boy games? Did you have them hooked up and get to bring?
No,
Nah, you didn't do that.
My friends did, and I didn't. I was never.
I never had
got
any
into
of that myself back in the day, but I had both those games, and they're favorites. To this day, I like Pokemon games. I got the remakes that came out a few weeks ago of the stuff that came out 15, 16 years ago, Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if we're talking just strict, and this is off topic, but if real quick, Game Boys, all I had was the Pokemon games. So
they were definitely the ones I spent the most time on.
They were amazing. I
fell out of it like Gen 5 or 6, but I got back into the games. The games like a year ago when I got a Switch.
I got out of it once they started to get into like silver and stuff. Obviously, the OGs for me were yellow, green, blue, and I think that's it. I might be missing one, but those are the three that stick out to me: yellow, green, and blue.
That first Pokemon movie still makes me cry. Anyway,
I didn't honestly, Tommy. I don't think I ever played Stadium 2.
That one was better.
I don't think so.
Did that have Pokemon Snap? Was that one on
Pokemon
64?
Snap?
Pokemon Snap was in
yeah,
there.
that was the camera.
I remember that going through. Oh man,
they say Snap the original was going to be.
Oh man, I'm gonna be in my feelings tonight. Y'all are bringing. I'm getting old. God damn it.
They say Snap is going to end up on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, whatever it's called.
Well, they did just put out a new version. Like there was a whole new Snap.
That's the expansion pass. You mean of Snap? Yeah, they got
the new one that was like all of the new generations and what have you.
I just gotta say, I don't think this looks terrible.
Stop it!
I think it looks like.
Stop it!
Is this like Grand Theft Auto? It looks like old school Grand Theft Auto.
Definitely is
Stop
like
it right
Grand
now.
Theft Auto.
Oh, okay, that's a topic we should discuss.
Just less killing people and stealing things, and more of learning about the history of Italy.
Stop it right now. Stop it.
That's pretty bad.
You're horrible people.
Oh man.
Wow.
Y'all need Jesus.
So, what about everybody else? What 64 games stand out to y'all?
I mean, really, they're all ones you.
Real quick, I'm missing one. Mission Impossible.
Mario?
Mission Impossible. Was great.
Yes, that's another one. Yes.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
Gemini. Did y'all ever play that one?
I did. My brother and a neighbor loved it. I wasn't as big a fan. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't as big a fan. The N64 actually has a game that was the first game that I ever sat and beat in one solid sitting without stopping again. I was Fighting Force 64. I beat that game in like 3 hours.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very good game.
Or maybe I'm just a really good player.
What was a friggin'
I've seen you play Far Cry. You're not that good, Johnny.
What did they charge for that base retail? 40? 30?
Paying for games back then?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
25, 30. Anyone got the question to this? The answer to this?
I mean, you're a Yankee Doodle, so the number's going to be a lot lower than us Canadians. I want to say it was like 40, 45.
That's still too fucking much money.
It might have been close to 50, but
so the original price for WWF No Mercy, it looks like was $40.
Okay.
That's all right.
I assume probably at least 10 to 15 more Canadian, because that's just how the market works.
Because when you got to the PS2 era, I think games were 50, right? We weren't quite at the 60 yet, I don't think.
They kind of
it was
plateaued
between
in that
50
era.
and 60.
Yeah, they kind of plateaued in that era at around the 50 to 60 for a good generation or two.
But hey, I mean, somebody on eBay is selling a brand new WWF No Mercy game for only $475. So
Oh, it's a steal.
I mean, I've got to
Yeah.
assume that's sealed. That's factory sealed.
I would assume so too. It says
It is. It's not a terrible buy.
it says sealed crease dented box.
Oh, boo!
Creased and dented
Yo,
for 400? No,
If
thank
it's
you.
Sealed. Like,
No
for
soup.
real, someone came out. I think it was a company in Italy about a month or two back. They had like a whole crate of unopened Super Mario N64s. Now I think they were locked to what was it, Europe, the consoles or something.
But you can buy open box No Mercy for $11.
That sounds about right. It's there's so many games in that era that everybody can point to be like, oh man, those were my jams. There's and everybody's got stories for them too. Like that's the beauty of it. Is the stories. Like for me, it was the summer that I broke my arm and developed the one-handed gaming technique. Like I could play GoldenEye one-handed.
I'm sure you could.
Ooh, that's bad. That's fucking bad.
Hey man, I was better
so-
one-handed than two-handed. People were playing Dig Dug.
You know
in the
what?
original Pokemon
Honorable mention. A game I really loved, and I've only just within the past 6 months or a year found out a lot of people don't like this game. Okay, 2 mentions. Kirby Crystal Stars, is it? The Kirby 60 and 64 game? Okay. And Donkey Kong and 64. Apparently a lot of people don't like that Donkey
Fuck
Kong
that.
game.
I like Donkey Kong.
It was great.
I know, right?
Wow.
Like that was a pretty fucking good game.
It
But
was the
apparently
yellow.
a lot
It was
of
the
people
yellow
hate
one,
it.
right? No, man.
Yeah.
The only person that hated it was the little fucking kid sitting at Billy Madison's lunch table. That's about it.
I mean, it wasn't country because it didn't quite have the same platformer. It kind of took on a lot more, first-person shooter stuff than I would have necessarily liked. That didn't make it a bad game, but I mean, come on, any game that opens with the DK ramp is gold. I mean, that was the game that got my console. I got the green, like the see-through green limited edition Donkey Kong 64 console for Christmas that year, and it established a love of me for see-through consoles for the next 2 generations.
Yeah, that game was great. It was basically GoldenEye, but with Donkey Kong, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, it was
The
awesome.
DK rap. I mean,
so without going into detail, because I know we got to wrap up the video game, just one word. I just want to know. I'm sure we'll discuss it on another show. Best Grand Theft Auto game, or your favorite Grand Theft Auto game? I'm gonna go Vice City for me.
it's either. I mean, best story Vice City, best all-around game San Andreas.
4 for me.
Nice. I like that, Shawn.
First one we could play online together with people, and
Sucked.
what do you talk? We were up till like 5, 6 in the
I'm not
morning.
saying we weren't. I'm saying that it just sucked. We just had a lot of fun playing
remember,
shitty games.
Holding some hospitals hostage.
I'm not saying we didn't have fun, but comparatively, it sucked.
Yeah, my dad's favorite is San Andreas. Mine is Vice City.
I love the customization in San Andreas, right? Like the
I
story actually adapted to how you played. If you let CJ get fat, that changed the story.
Yeah, I remember when, even though I played Vice City the most, 5. I remember when that came out like the back of my hand. I mean, I was in high school and didn't go to school the next day. Like, I remember when that came out, and it took so long to fucking download and shit like that, but it was awesome. Like, that's the one that comes to my mind first is having the most memory of. But I remember playing Vice City like every fucking day. Like that was my jam, and jumping the ramps with the motorcycles and floating on water and the code for all that. But I just want to.
Rockstar is the best. Arguably, it's the best story company in the world.
What about Tommy and Jeremy? What about y'all?
I don't play a huge amount of GTA, but I've played bits and pieces over the years. From what I've played, San Andreas is the one that really sticks out, and that's
Yeah.
because San Andreas.
You could play basketball. That's why.
That game shook gaming as an industry, I think, right? Because of just everything it ended up in the news, and
Hot coffee.
it's controversial to this day.
What was the game that had the Ferris wheel and the dock and the bowling alley? Was that 4?
I mean, I feel like that's been part of like every game since Vice City.
I just have like this memory of like, I don't know.
I want to say you're thinking of 4 because I think the Ferris wheel was a big part of the pregame propaganda for that one, if I recall correctly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our gaming discussion for this night.
God, I'm getting old.
Wrestling. Tommy B and Mikey B, where can everybody find you guys at?
Okay, I'll go first. Everyone can find me hanging out on.
Tommy's just
Facebook.
A bully tonight. Just goes first and.
Fandom Empire Den, Halloween Fandom, whatever, wherever, all those good places. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TommyB1650.
And you can follow me on Twitter at MichaelBish_ and on Instagram at MBish_. And for everybody out there, fuck Halloween 5. Sorry, Johnny.
Wow. Well, fellas, thanks for doing that. I mean, what happened to Jared?
He said he was talking wrestling. He was bouncing.
Peace!
Are we talking Attitude Era? I can stay. Or is that what we're talking?
We're talking AEW.
I gotta go. All I know is CM Punk is back and Daniel Bryan is over there doing something. I don't know.
That's what we're gonna talk about. Man.
Okay, I'm leaving. Bye, guys.
I was gonna say it's one place where you realize you're still live.
I was wondering if Jeremy was coming back or not, or it's just going to be a 2-person conversation. I can't talk much about AEW or I would stay, but
no worries, man.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy. You nearly killed that man tonight. I hope you're happy.
Well, I'm not unhappy. You want to feel old? We are old. You, sir, are officially older than every Super Mario game except the first one. Whoa, super close up to his face.
I'm using my phone. My Chromebook died.
Damn Chromebooks.
Right? If this works better.
You're now suffering from Zach syndrome.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I don't know why my headphones aren't connecting to this.
All right, fellas. So that thing that Johnny kept predicting would happen finally happened. And we have Punk and MJF in a program together, and it seems like, fingers crossed, they're going to take their time with it too, as they should. Just what are your guys' thoughts on how it's been so far? Because for me personally, again, this is totally biased, but like it's some of the best promo work I've seen in over a decade, and that's keeping in mind I haven't seen much in the last decade.
It's hard to rank it as far as solid promo works go because it's good stuff, but it's relying heavily on the cheap pop and the cheap reaction, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, you can make a career out of that, but you know, it just they've got to get to the next layer. And now, granted, this program's only 2 weeks old at this point, so scratching the first layer and being cheap, okay, that makes sense. We just got to get to that next layer now, and we're kind of getting there. You had the separation, with Wardlow getting in between them last week, and those sort of elements of interjecting the Pinnacle in between the two, which is what you needed. You can't have the straight shot, otherwise you blow that off at Winter is Coming next week, and that's not what any of us wanted. A little short, 3.5, 4 week program with those two is not what I signed up for. It's not what I wanted, but I'm liking the way it's playing out. It's some of the jabs are just okay, but you can see the heart. You can see the fire there that you haven't seen in a long time with those two, and I'm enjoying it a great deal. Obviously I don't want them to blow it off next week, and it doesn't look like they're going to, unless they rocket it, unless they hot shot the angle this week, which is something TK has not done yet. They haven't really hot shotted any angles yet, but inevitably they're going to. I just hope this isn't the one that they hot shot.
I don't think it's going to be one they're going to hot shot, because it's got so much to it, even just based on the promos they've done. And I think they could do a match next week at is it Winter is Coming? Is that the show? Yeah. Okay. They could do a match and just do, a 5-minute thing and then a fuck finish and then build even further. I mean, that's an option they could do, because promos only carry you so far. And while yes, they're fantastic promos, they do need to mix it up, here and there. I want to see MJF punch Punk in the face a couple times and, get some more heat that way, because you can only say oh, you're just a low rent Miz so many times, and you got to get the fisticuffs, even if it's not an actual pay-per-view match. And I mean, their next pay-per-view is not till, I guess,
March.
Late February. Yeah, early March.
Beginning of March this year, yeah.
So, do they have... they've got the TNT. Is it TNT they're doing Battle of the Belts on?
Yes.
Okay, so they could do an actual match there, only because while it's not a pay-per-view, I don't think AEW is a strong enough roster where they can give away Punk MJF 1 at Battle of the Belts as an actual match, as a selling point for ratings rather than a selling point for pay-per-view buys, because they've got a strong enough roster where they can build a pay-per-view where, sure, they could do a rematch there, but that's not the only selling point. For the TNT show, you've got, an hour or two to sell, and you can build that as one of the main attraction matches, and people are going to tune in to see it. Because I think 4 months is a little much for a build for the first match. We're going to see them go at it before then. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I think you've got it pretty straight on there. I can already see sort of the progression of the planning here. I think this week's pretty obvious. Punk's going to cost MJF his third ring.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty straightforward as far as logical booking goes. MJF wants that third ring so he can be the only 3-time Dynamite Diamond champion in history. Well, there's only been 3, so of course you're the only one. But, I think it's fairly obvious it's going to cost him that either in the actual Battle Royal this week or next week in the actual, Dynamite Diamond match, which I hope that's not it, because I don't particularly want MJF in that match again.
What if Punk wins?
What if Punk wins? Oh, please no. Please no. For me, I see it more of a, what's the best analogy here? Got to go old school. What's the best analogy to make here? I don't actually know which one I'd go with. There's a lot of options, but that old-fashioned 2 guys eliminate each other and that's it type situation. Because we know that the Pinnacle has a third of the spots in the Battle Royal.
So kind of
Like
like
they
Bad
said-
News and Piper at Rumble 90, where they kind of
Yes.
tossed each other and then brawled with them.
That's a perfect example of that one. I was gonna say Mil Mascaris in '97, but that would just be stupid, or something like that. But yeah, something like that
he
where
just
they
jumped to the floor anyways and just
he
didn't
eliminated
think he-
himself because
That was like Savage in '92, except they just kind of ignored it and let him back in the match because he still needed spots to do before the finish.
that's where the famous. If you're a listener of the Bruce Pritchard podcast, that's where the famous "No Yob" line comes from, because Mill wouldn't do the job in the Royal Rumble.
I would hope that Punk and MJF isn't going to be one and done.
You ain't bringing Mill in to do any jobs, brother.
Like, they obviously didn't drag on Punk and Darby or Punk and Eddie. They were one match and done. And I kind of don't want that to be the case this time. I like to see Punk and MJF have 2 or 3 matches.
I think the difference comparatively between the Darby Allin Punk angle and then the Eddie Punk angle is that they've both been about the other person. Darby's was a prove it match. Can you hang with the best in the world? Can I still hang with the top tier guys? Can I hang with one of the pillars of AEW? And then Eddie's match with Punk was more of an Eddie story than it was a Punk story. And it's still progressing that way with Eddie's sort of solitude, moving into what's now Eddie and Jericho, and I'm here for that. It's interesting that this is the first time a Punk story has been about him and someone else, like long-term storytelling wise.
Yeah, they've got Punk and MJF is a story where they're going to need to tell a full story. And the thing with Eddie, they left that open. They can go back to that whenever they want. There's nothing was essentially finished there.
They just sort of carried on Eddie's quest for respect, and now they're moving to Jericho.
Yeah, Punk was just a stop on Eddie's story, essentially. So, and now it's about, and MJF isn't a guy who's really got any kind of redemption story or anything. Like, he's a guy who knows he's good at what he does. He's Punk from 10 years ago. In that sense.
He's better than you, and you know it.
Exactly.
That's the build right there.
Yeah.
I'm better than you, and you know it, but I'm the best in the world. There's your meat and potatoes right there. Are you better than me, or am I the best in the world? And now you get to tell that story in a way that works really well with two guys that, when you put them in front of a live mic, they're either going to give you fire or it's going to fizzle out. And thankfully, it was fire.
But they need to be careful because while, yes, they are both delivering fire right now, are they still going to be delivering this same kind of fire on February 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they just, we've talked enough. While we're both very good at promos, I just really don't want them to rely too much on it. Because the first promo was fucking gangbusters. That was money to be printed. And it got everybody talking, and it did the purpose that it was meant to do. But I'm concerned that while it was fantastic, it'll blind them to the point of, hey, we need to do something other than, talk for the next 2 months. Give me a tag match or something. Have, Wardlow hit Punk with a car or something. Give me more than 2 guys who are the best talkers in AEW. I need a little more than that. Even, like, not to divert, but like even Danielson and Hangman, who are 2 fantastic talkers, immediately you saw them go at it after their first promo. So not that the first promo is an afterthought because it turned Danielson heel, but it gave it more context rather than 2 guys talking. And I think Punk and MJF are going to need that point sooner rather than later.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight. Keep in mind, I have never seen anything Bryan Danielson outside of his Daniel Bryan stuff in WWE, except for I think it was a Ring of Honor match with him and Punk. So like that's all I've gotten is WWE Daniel Bryan. This heel Bryan Danielson, I'm so for it. It's so entertaining, and I'm loving every fucking second of it. And it's just like, it's not just like the heel where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna hide behind this and hide behind that, and then I'll cheat to win. It's he's a heel, and he still kicks the guy's head in, and still acts like a heel. He isn't, he's not a little bitch. Is basically what I'm getting at, and I'm enjoying the character. Again, this is my first experience with him like this, though.
This is just Bryan Danielson. I mean, this is like this flashbacks to like 2007, 2008 Ring of Honor, where his goal was just to kick everybody's heads off. That's all it was. You stand between him and his goal, and that's winning the belt or keeping the belt, and he's just gonna kick your face in until you get out of his way. And I love it, because it's something we haven't for so long. Daniel Bryan was, the smiling, the yes, the no, the funny man. You didn't get to see the real Bryan Danielson. You didn't get to see the American Dragon. Even when they turned him heel, he was Captain Planet, not Bryan Danielson. So this is not just you. Anyone who's ever seen Daniel Bryan has never seen this side of Bryan Danielson before.
Though, to be fair, the Captain Planet Daniel Bryan is probably the closest version of Daniel Bryan that we got there that we are seeing here.
Oh yeah, it was Bryan Danielson in PG, and it made sense. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was fun. Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fine. I enjoyed it.
It was great. Him cutting that promo in the concession stand and insulting people who were like buying hot dogs and stuff. It was fantastic. And Bryan, while he is known for, of course, being the best wrestler in the world right now, you forget how good he is at promos because he's relatable, he's honest, and the thing about being a heel that he gets is he's justified. Even if you think, oh, he's full of shit, how can he think that? If he believes in what he is saying and he conveys that, then he's doing his job. And even with the heel turn, like it's like that meme, why are you booing me? I'm right. And he just throws like little things in, like, oh, people in Virginia don't want to work. Like, just these little things that, and the best part about it is it's all ad lib stuff. They're not given scripts in AEW at all. Like yeah, they're probably given pointers. Like, I want to get from A to B to C, but I trust you guys on the mic to get me there, and they do a fantastic job of it. And to be fair, Hangman can definitely hold his own on the mic with Danielson, and that's a good thing because he's your fucking flagship guy right now, so he better. But I think Danielson is the perfect guy to pair him with because yes, we're getting the best version of Bryan Danielson right now. I think it's a tough spot that they're in right now because Hangman is in a situation of, yes, the 2-year chase was fantastic and it was awesome. But now where do you go with it? Is he just going to flounder in a couple months because he's reached the, for lack of a better term, the pinnacle of his goal, and now kind of people end up, and it's happened before in wrestling where people support the guy up until he gets to where he needs to be, and it's not even that the company cuts his legs up, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, but if he's the guy that, hey, we support him on the way up, but now that he's there, he's just another guy. Which I personally don't feel this way, and I think Hangman's going to be a good champion, but he's at risk, let's put it that way, of being overshadowed by the guys that he's going to be working with. Because Omega, he had the story going in. So you had 2 years worth of
More than that, even.
yeah, he hung with Omega and he was groomed to be the guy, but now that he's the guy, the momentum shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, okay, we need to view him not as an underdog who can't get it done, and we're cheering for him to get it done. Now we have to cheer him as the guy who got it done. He's the face of the company. It's a different viewpoint of the guy who's the champ who fulfilled his story. And I think Danielson is a good guy to put him with, but you got to be careful with, because he immediately turned heel, which was brilliant, because you can't put a guy who, and I would say to an extent, Danielson, up until the heel turn, was more over than Hangman. So you had to be careful with that, because you couldn't do a babyface thing, because then the reactions will point out that, hey, Hangman is not on this guy's level and he's our fucking champ. Uh-oh, what do we do? So you turn Danielson heel, which is phenomenal because Danielson can do anything. He's the perfect wrestler. But then what do you do? Yes, they're doing the match in a week and a half or whatever, but I don't know where they go with it. Dude, you can't beat Hangman already, but I don't think Hangman is going to get one of those long AEW title reigns that we've seen where, Moxley holds the belt for almost a year and Omega holds the belt for, 9 months or whatever it was. So I think Hangman isn't going to be that kind of champion, but Danielson is a good, even great first guy to kind of put in his path.
The real problem is that everybody thinks WWF style booking, where the babyface prevails. The monsters get built up to challenge the babyface, who always prevails. Whereas if you look predominantly at the AEW booking style, it's heavily NWA, old school WCW, Dusty Rhodes style of booking, where the babyface gets built for the chase, but there's always that bad guy looming. And AEW had their Ric Flair, as it was, in Kenny Omega. And now Adam Page is suffering from a very serious case of Ricky Steamboat syndrome. And you kind of move, you segue, you go from one best in the world to another best in the world. You go from Kenny to Brian, and I don't know how long it lasts. And I'll say it again. I'm not shocked if next week Hangman is no longer the AEW champion.
I'd be for that. I know it wouldn't necessarily be fair to him, but like the idea that he went on this 2-year chase for the belt and then just fucking Danielson out of nowhere comes in.
I like it because it builds to the third chapter, to the final chapter of Hangman. He couldn't do it as a member of the Elite. He did it with the Dark Order, but he couldn't stay on top. Now he's got to do it himself. And I kind of like that, that story of rising back up on your own, without the Dark Order, without the because I love the Dark Order, but the comedic stylings that the Dark Order has taken on is... this is one of those things where you can kind of see the writings and the bookings, and looking back historically, you can see where things were kind of segued. And I think the plan was always kind of to go with Adam taking the Dark Order and turning them towards the light, and wrestling control away from Brody Lee. But you take Brody Lee out of the equation, and the Dark Order stumbles and staggers, and it becomes that babyface comedic thing without the outside element, just based on a groundswell of love and support for Brody Lee. You didn't have that element of taking them away and fighting for them, and it just kind of changed the angle and made them more comedic, and that's not who you want your champion to be. Your champion can't be the funny guy. He can't be with the funny people. He's got to be serious, and that's not what you're going to get with beer-swilling funny man Adam Page. That's not... AEW's not ready for that. No company should be ready for that. And I don't think it's the right way to book your champion. So I think they have to get the belt off him. And for me, the sooner the better.
All right, fellas. Sorry, we got to cut this thing short. Apologies. That's on me. Where can everybody find you guys at? What do you guys got going on the football podcast? It's almost playoffs.
Yeah, we're definitely knocking down the playoff doors.
Playoff.
No, he isn't.
Playoffs? Don't talk to me about playoffs.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, so we do the Inside Handoff podcast. We talk about all the news and games and all sorts of stuff in the world of the NFL. And we record pretty much every week.
When
Either
real life doesn't stick its head up and say hello.
real life has taken a toll on the podcast lately, but we're working on it. So you can find us on Twitter at Handoff Inside. You can find us on Spotify and YouTube, the Inside Handoff podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Johnny, what's the Facebook?
Facebook.com/Inside Handoff.
Yes. And I have started running a Google Drive for professional wrestling content because I've been collecting the stuff for 25 years and would like to share the wealth. So I have added my Twitter account, which should be down here somewhere. Hit me up on Twitter and I can give you all the details on that. And yeah, wrestling is awesome. And so is Mario is Missing.
Fuck off.
I say Johnny's going to go to bed tonight, and this is all he's going to see.
Not even looking. Not even looking. Mm-mm.
Oh, man. What a night. All right, guys. Thanks for doing this. Thanks to the audience for coming out tonight. And be on the lookout. Lots happening. Spider-Man No Way Home. It's next week. Crazy. Guess I should start Christmas shopping.